No doubt you got to raise eyebrows and raise skepticism, but I was still encouraged. I think that compared to where we were a few months ago with these two leaders trading insults and seemingly moving towards a war footing, the idea that we can even talk about talks is, in my mind, positive. Now, obviously, you have to worry about a lot of ways these could go badly, and there has to be a lot of staff work in advance, and President Trump needs to think through the various ways in which he could be presented with a bad bargain. Figure out how he's going to respond in advance. There are at least 2 or 3 major ways we could wind up much worse off after certain kinds of failed negotiations or a bad deal. But I think that President Trump's capable of that kind of preparation, and there'll be time for it. So I'm hopeful on balance.
Even with preparation, you could end up with, I mean, we've talked about the Iran deal before, and you know, I don't know what was possible and what the counterfactual looks like, but they did a lot of staff work on that in advance, a lot of negotiations. And it's still what we ended up with, and you know, it's all looked through a political prism. I understand that, but I'm not sure that that was the greatest outcome we could have hoped for.
No, not the best outcome, although I think better than sometimes alleged. But you're right. The bottom line here is we have to be extremely wary of a number of things. One is that the talks completely break down and we're back to the war footing. Another is that North Korea tries to persuade us to completely break the alliance with South Korea and say that that's the only real reason they're nervous, the only real reason they feel they need these nuclear weapons. And if we would just pull our troops off the Korean peninsula, they'd be happy to give up their nuclear weapons. That's a dangerous scenario for a lot of reasons, one of which is that China would love it in many ways, and so we're going to potentially see the coalition divided. Also, you know, the North Korean threat was there before North Korea had nuclear weapons, and it would continue even after they denuclearized. So I don't necessarily think breaking the alliance would be smart. Those are just a couple of the ways these talks could go badly. But again, I think President Trump is going to be capable of preparing for those scenarios. The key is, are we prepared to accept an interim deal that would stop short of complete denuclearization? I think that's what we have to think through. What kind of an imperfect first step can we contemplate, and what do we give for that?
Right. What do you mean in terms of what we roll off if it's short of denuclearization?
Exactly right, because I don't see North Korea, after 30-some years of developing a nuclear program, really giving it up for anything short of U.S. and South Korea breaking the alliance, which we're not going to do. Therefore, the question is, can we cap their nuclear program in the first instance in a verifiable way that will be more verifiable than the previous deals, and not give them too much of a bargain, not sell the farm, you know, too thoroughly, not give too high of a price or benefit for that kind of an imperfect first step. That's going to be, I think, the real crux of the matter.
I just wonder that now you heard the latest that maybe Kim Jong-un is actually interested in a peace treaty. I just wonder, what would that say? What would that, and what would it entail to make it actually more than just, just something that looks good on paper but doesn't really accomplish anything?
Right. I favor that kind of a deal because, as you know, we're still in a state of war. It's an armistice. It's not a negotiated end to the conflict. Yeah, and therefore we have to say, well, what kinds of conditions? Again, we can't break the alliance as a way to get a deal. But we could imagine an international peace enforcement force along the DMZ that's going to have Swedes and Swiss and Chinese and Russians and NATO members. And that kind of a force could essentially have the responsibility of monitoring both sides and giving North Korea some added security that somehow it's not worried about a hypothetical South Korean invasion. That's the kind of thing we could do to get a peace deal. And if we could do that and still keep the alliance, I would be in favor of it.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.